It is Thursday, June 4th. You're watching the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. Stanley Cup finals are underway. First game has been played and it's gone Vegas' way. We'll see what game 2 has in store, but we're going to break down game 1. What happened? Can Carolina adjust, or is this series over? We're also going to talk about trades because, of course, most teams are in the postseason now. So trades are bound to happen. We're going to talk about blockbusters because that's what we're interested in here. We want the good stuff. So which big names around the league could be moving? Snake's going to give us his take. We're also going to talk about the Draft Combine because it's happening right now in Buffalo. Today was, I think, picture day, whatever they want to call it. But nonetheless, physical training, interviews going underway in the next few days in Buffalo. We're going to talk about that. And, of course, we've got some mailbag questions in the queue. It's going to be a condensed version today, but a fun one nonetheless. And it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
Producer Shayne here, joined as always by Simon the Snake Boisvert, who is in beautiful Halifax today. Snake, how we doing?
Doing great, getting ready for the draft on Friday night and Saturday. Lots of meetings, pre-draft meetings, interviews with players today. So let's get going and, back home on Sunday.
That's the fun stuff. And yeah, you're still taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this show. So we all appreciate it, but that's why it's going to be a condensed version because Snake is very busy. So let's dive right into it, shall we? Stanley Cup final for game 1. I don't think anybody had 9 goals on their bingo card. If you went on Betway and bet the over, congratulations. You made yourself some money. But 5-4, Snake, for the Vegas Golden Knights. Heading into this series, we thought this was going to be more of a defensive-minded, both teams kind of stingy, right? Maybe not a few goals. 5-4!
Yeah,
wow.
It might not last because it's a first game, so each team is getting a feel for the other one. However, remember what we discussed on Monday when we said that I was curious to see what kind of series we would get with two teams that play, I would say, a similar style, with Vegas perhaps a little bit more offensive. And you see we got lots of goals. I was also talking about goalies. They both gave up a lot of goals. But it goes to show one thing, is that Carolina's dominance against the Habs doesn't necessarily mean that they were going to win the cup.
No.
But they might still win the cup. I mean, it's just game 1. I think 75% of teams winning game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals end up winning the cup. And especially Vegas won the game on the road.
Yeah,
so, look, it's looking good for the Golden Knights, but it ain't over yet, obviously.
Oh, far from over. No, this is going to be a tight series. And Snake, I mean, game 1 was kind of reminiscent to me of game 1 against the Habs. The Habs went into Carolina and beat them 6-2.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously a bigger margin there. And, of course, the rest thing, right? They hadn't played in 2 weeks, kind of getting their legs. But it's also about getting acquainted to your opponent. I just think that Carolina is just still learning what Vegas is. Because, I mean, let's not forget, they only played each other twice this season, and both times in October.
Yeah.
So they haven't seen each other in a long time.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything except the fact that they don't know each other, like you say.
Precisely. So they're still getting acquainted here.
So needless to say that Carolina needs to win game 2, but it was the same thing against the Habs. And remember, that game went into overtime. So I think Carolina deserved the win, but still, you get it's just a matter of one goal, and the Habs could have been up 2-0. So I think it's must win for Carolina because then they would have to win 4 out of 5 and at least 2 in Vegas. That's going to be tough for them. It might be the end of the road for Carolina, but it will have been a good run for them. But let's see, it ain't over.
Oh no, that's it. Must win tonight.
I was just surprised that they were favorite to win the cup.
Really? The odds are very tight, though. It's not a big margin, but
I
think the fact they lost 2 games in the playoffs, I kind of understand.
Yeah, but I think a lot of analysts and people doing the odds forgot that Vegas beat Colorado in 4 games.
Yeah.
And I can understand they had injury issues in Colorado, but still, you beat Colorado in 4 games. You have to respect the team that goes like this. They really took off during the second round against Anaheim. I think Anaheim was leading the series at some point 2-1. And then I was thinking, oh my God, could it be that Anaheim is going to the Final Four? But no, Vegas came back. Yeah. And since then, they've been cruising. I don't think they've lost a game since then. I think they're like, 8 wins in a row, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 7 games in a row. So we'll see. Look, very often the Stanley Cup is won by the hottest team in the spring. So because Vegas finished 13th overall in the standings, and that would make them one of the quote-unquote worst Stanley Cup winners in history if they do that. But look, we went through the history of who wins the Cup, and very often, all the points you're getting or not getting in October, November, December doesn't mean a thing. It just helps you make the playoffs.
Yeah, well, they have the loser point to thank for that, because I think they lost like 17 games in overtime this year.
Yeah,
Something
but
crazy,
but that
point's
overtime.
A point.
Yeah, but don't forget that type of overtime doesn't exist in the playoffs. So maybe 3-on-3 wasn't good for them.
Hey, they haven't really needed overtime that much in these playoffs either.
Exactly.
Against Colorado, I mean, they won convincingly. You know what I mean? So they're a great team, very difficult opponent, obviously, for the Hurricanes. But, Snake, would I be wrong in saying that the only people the Hurricanes have to blame for Game 1 loss are themselves?
Yeah.
Shot themselves in the foot. Like, sure, they weren't acquainted to Vegas and their style and their system and their players. But, I mean, a lot of their players had really bad games.
Yeah, that's why. And they only lost by 4. So that's why maybe they're going to make adjustments like they did against the Habs after Game 1. I mean, in the first, it was really the first period against the Habs.
Yeah.
I mean, they were totally shocked by the Habs. I think it was 4-1 at some point.
4-1, yeah.
And then the series started really, really flipping over.
They adjusted
so
real
maybe
quick,
maybe something like that is in the is going to happen with Vegas, but who knows? Look, I'm just happy that it's close and we're still getting some good hockey until we shut down, for the next 3 months.
That's it. Well, listen, I'll eat my words. It's a lot more entertaining than I expected. I thought this was going to be just grind your opponent type of hockey, which is effective. It's not that good of a product, however, but Game 1 was damn good product.
It depends on what kind of hockey that you appreciate. Obviously, I like run and gun hockey, but I also appreciate when you have a certain style of play, you have an identity, and you do it well.
Yeah.
And, still Vegas, they have Eichel, they have Marner. I mean, they still have some great offensive players, Dorofeyev. Mm-hmm. So it's still not. Look, it's not what it seems to be, let's say. I think some fans make it a big deal, because we're not getting, let's say, Edmonton against Buffalo or something like that, some more spectacular teams.
Yeah.
But look, or Colorado. Colorado would have been, I love Colorado. I thought they were going to win the Cup. But, look, I'm fine with all this.
So far, so good, and Game 2 gets underway tonight in Raleigh again. We're going to talk about the rest of the games that will have been played on Monday, but we're going to move on, Snake, because I said condensed version. Got to talk trades, okay? And look, for the next month, basically, we're going to talk trades, we're going to talk draft, we're going to talk free agency, all that fun stuff, and we're going to have little tidbits of that in every show, okay? We want you all to be pleased with the content. So today, Snake, I'd like to tackle blockbusters. They're kind of hard to see, ahead of time, but when they do happen, man, are they fun. I still vividly remember the Matthew Tkachuk for Jonathan Huberdeau trade. I mean, that shook the planet. That was so much fun, and it turned out really well for the Panthers. So these blockbuster trades need to involve big names. I'm going to ask you about those big names. You tell me if you think, what the likelihood of them being traded would be, and maybe some destinations while we're at it. So the first one I'd like to tackle with you is the former MVP of the league and Vezina winner, Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah.
Because Connor Hellebuck's name, believe it or not, has been in the rumor mill. Team like Buffalo has been mentioned, maybe Anaheim, maybe, likely going back to the U.S. But point is, Snake, something needs to change in Winnipeg. It was a horrible season for them this year. And that's a market that cannot afford to be horrible very long. Yeah. So is there a possibility we see Connor Hellebuyck moved?
I think there is, but in Winnipeg, I don't think the team is as bad as it was early in the season. Maybe they're not as good as the President Trophy winner team that they had the year before, but it's probably in between. I think they can go back to the playoffs, and that could be one reason why they wouldn't trade Connor Hellebuyck. Because, although Hellebuyck wasn't good in the playoffs last year, I mean, he's a good goalie and
won the gold medal single-handedly.
And he brings them to the playoffs. So let's not nitpick too much. Now, here's the thing with Winnipeg. In another market, with perhaps another owner, they could be a strong candidate to pull a Chicago Blackhawks. Which basically means a total rebuild. Why? Because with the core that they have right now, which is aging, a little bit, Shifley and Kyle Connor and company, Josh Morrissey, Hellebuyck, I think you have to think that they're probably not going to win with that core. So all these players could be very attractive to contending teams who could give them picks and prospects in return. But the problem is that's 5 years at the bottom of the standings. This is not going to happen in Winnipeg. So I think Winnipeg's mission over the last 15 years, although at some point they were seen as a real future cup contender, the way that the Habs are seen right now, the way the Maple Leafs were seen as, but they never made it. And but overall, they always had the mission. There was a lot of stability. Kevin Cheveldayoff has been there forever, ever since the team moved back to Winnipeg. And I feel that they're going to play it very conservative, and they're just going to try and add a little bit. So, yeah, there is a possibility Connor Hellebuyck could be traded, but if he is, it almost means like there's going to be a teardown. Now, who could be interested? You mentioned Buffalo, you mentioned Anaheim. I think even Colorado. I mean, any team that was eliminated this year because they feel that it was because of the goalie might go after them. Buffalo might argue, well, we would have been in the Habs hadn't it been for the performances of Lyon and UPL. Anaheim might say, well, Dostal had a terrible season. All we need is a goalie, which I agree that Dostal had a terrible season, but I think there's problems with defensive play in Anaheim. But that's the narrative usually when teams don't get good goalie performance in the playoffs, they will blame the goalie for the loss. So I would say a 10% chance, 10-15% chance that he'd be traded.
I think that's fair. Yeah, and you highlighted some very important points, but man, that would be something, eh? In Buffalo, wow, and they would have the assets too.
Oh,
they would have the assets to do that.
So would Anaheim.
Excuse me, battling a little something here. It's the Sick Podcast after all, but we don't take days off. We do not take days off. Auston Matthews, Snake.
Yes.
Auston Matthews. Nobody knows what the Leafs are going to do, right?
Yeah.
It could go all sorts of different ways with them, but the name Auston Matthews has surfaced and, has been talked about in trade discussions. What's the percentage on him?
Yeah, I think the percentage is a little bit higher, maybe, but still not very high. I would say maybe 25-30%. Why? Because they won the lottery. But this could go both ways. It could be like, we won the lottery, so we can rebuild with a budding star instead of, getting the fifth overall pick, and basically getting a good but not possibly great player. But also, on the other hand, it might be like, well, we got a bonus. Matthews still has 2 years left on his contract.
Something along those lines.
Let's retool. Hope that last year was just an aberration, and don't forget they don't have their picks in 27 and 28. They don't have their number one picks, so they wouldn't want to tank. So I would say, if Matthews gets traded, it's not going to be for futures. It's going to be for players who can contribute right away to Toronto. That's my thing.
Correct.
I don't see a present for futures type of trade.
Yeah, that's it. And look, as we ground through the names, we invite everybody to chime in the comments section. Let us know if we missed any names or where those names could be going if they were to be traded. Jason Robertson, Snake.
Yeah.
The Dallas Stars are going to be in trouble this summer. They got to clear some cap space if they want to sign Jason Robertson, and that's if they want to sign Jason Robertson, who is reportedly asking for around $14 million a year.
Yeah.
Great player, but that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Although if you look at statistically, probably that he would have a case for getting $14 million. He's also approaching unrestricted free agency, so he might argue, I'm as good as Kaprizov. You got 17 million. Why wouldn't I get 14? I think it's a strong possibility that he be traded, but again, Dallas is in a contention window, so I doubt that it would be for futures unless they feel that they have a good team without Robertson and that they do need futures in order to keep going for another 5-10 years, because some of their stars are aging, but they still have a relatively young core, let's say. Heiskanen is not an old player. Ottinger is not an old player. Exactly, Wyatt Johnson. So I don't see I don't see futures coming in unless they need to clear cap space. But if they do need to clear cap space, teams find a way to do it nowadays, without necessarily having to let go of very good players for free.
Yeah.
So, but I would say Robertson probably has a better chance of being traded than Matthews and Hellebuyck.
Yeah, and for anybody wondering, the Dallas Stars currently have $10 million in cap space, in cap room available.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it for Robertson, but again, they can maneuver around, clear up, 4 to 5 million more, and probably be able to sign him. Next name, Nico Hischier.
Yeah.
Again, contract situation last year on his deal right now, and he's got a decision to make, right? Does he believe in the core and in the future of the New Jersey Devils? Does he see himself there long term? And can they pay him what he wants, Snake?
Yeah, what is he going to get? He's getting 7 now, so what is he going to get? 10? I would think.
Probably.
Yeah, because he's not old. And
27.
27, yeah. So he has some very good years ahead of him. And this is the type of player probably who will age very well with his style of play. The question is, now they have a new GM over there. What is the new GM strategy? But I think in this case, I don't think it's really the team that matters. It's not the team's opinion that matters. It's whether Hischier wants to stay or not. Remember, Quinn Hughes was traded because Vancouver knew that he wasn't staying. So if Hischier says that he's not staying, I think in that case there would be like a 95% chance that he'd be traded. If he wants to stay, just is going to resign him on July 1st or later. and basically give him, a fair amount of money
Yeah.
for another 7-8 years. Remember, it is the last summer that teams can re-sign their own players for 8 years. Then it goes
Good
down
point.
to 7. So I think you're going to see a lot of players rushing to sign because of this. Well, those who want to stick around for long.
Yeah.
Because some others, younger players, like Celebrini, might not sign for 8 years because he doesn't have to. But older players, maybe who are like 26, 27, 28, they might just do that. But Hischier, like I say, if he wants to be traded, he's as good as gone. If he wants to stay, he's just going to resign, and that's it.
What's the likelihood on him, you think?
Had it been Tom Fitzgerald still around, I would have said he's probably going to be traded.
Yeah.
But with the new GM, we don't know. We don't know Sonny Mehta. We don't know what his strategy is. Does he think that the Devils have a great roster that just needs tweaking? Or does he think that they need some fresh blood, on the team? So I really don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough nut to crack. But again, like you mentioned, it's all on Hischier, right? He's the one that's going to decide his fate, not the Devils.
Exactly.
Robert Thomas. Robert Thomas is a name that, oh boy, he's been talked about ad nauseum. But for some reason, that name is still in the rumor mill. And I say for some reason because I'm still puzzled as to why the St. Louis Blues would want to trade him.
So is he in the rumor mill because, reporters need something to talk about? Or is he in the rumor mill because he was actually shopped around? Or is he in the rumor mill because St. Louis is fielding calls on him? Because maybe some teams see Thomas as not too old, but maybe too old for what St. Louis is trying to do. Because remember, they have a lot of young players, so he might not be part of that core, that future core. But at the same time, he's not old. He's 26 years old. Yeah. 27, yeah. And he's going to be, he's under contract for many more years. I don't see any reason why St. Louis would trade him unless they get a lot in return. And when I mean a lot, it would probably have to include a young defenseman. Mm-hmm. Because this is St. Louis's Achilles heel right now. They have an old defense core.
Aside from Broberg, who's
exactly
really
aside
good,
from Broberg, and Mailloux seems to be like becoming an NHL player, so that's two. But I think they need more. They traded away Justin Falk for a first-round pick, which is actually the 15th overall. Probably one of the best deals that of the year, I would think. And look, with Thomas, I would say it's less than 50%, but there are some teams, like Boston, for instance, they really need help offensively. But who are they going to give up? That's the problem. Yeah.
Anyways, there's going to be a bidding war for centers in this offseason. But so maybe that's why, St. Louis could be thinking, hey, we're going to capitalize on the need for centers, right? The market demand. And we're going to get a whole lot in return. But again, when you got a center like Robert Thomas, I don't know, and a team-friendly contract like he does, I just don't see it. That doesn't make any sense to me. But hey, it's just rumors at the time. No confirmations on anything. Last name, Snake, I want to bring up with you is the captain of the Ottawa Senators. Brady Tkachuk has also been in the rumor mill. It's kind of died down, however, I think Steve Stais has mentioned or whatever. He let it be understood that probably won't happen, but it's still a possibility.
Yeah.
How big of a possibility is
what
it?
a GM says doesn't mean anything because obviously he's not going to say that the guy is on the trading block. So, again, we don't really know what's happening inside. I know there were issues with Brady Tkachuk this year. I also realized that, Ottawa is not really winning with that core. The Stützle, Batterson, Tkachuk, Sanderson. I mean, it's a good core, but they're not winning.
No.
So it might be time to shake it up. And I think Brady Tkachuk situation could be similar to Quinn Hughes' situation in the sense that he might have informed Ottawa that he's not resigning. And if he's not resigning, and I think he has 2 years left on his contract, then he's as good as gone, because Ottawa would like to recoup some assets. So I think it's just a matter. It's like Quinn Hughes. It's a matter of knowing if he wants to resign or not. Otherwise, he's staying, and I think they're going to have some very good offers for this guy. Very good offers. Won't. And with Ottawa, whether they get an established player or a young player, I don't know. But remember, when they traded Dylan Cousins, they got Josh Norris in return, which means that they're probably going for it now. They don't want futures. So no. I think the Tkachuk trade could be not similar to the one that they did for Quinn Hughes in Minnesota, but more like similar to Cousins and Norris, because Ottawa is, is on winning mode. Well, let's call it this way.
Yeah. So that's one that could see, Tkachuk for Huberdeau. Yeah. Funny enough, it was his brother.
Like that. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
That's why I brought it up off the top. That's one of the bigger blockbusters in the summer that we've seen in recent memories. And it turned out quite well for the team that got the Tkachuk. So who knows? Maybe another team will be ready to pay up.
But you know what, Shayne? There could be one or two blockbusters this summer, and they might not necessarily involve the players we're mentioning today.
Exactly. That's the fun part.
And then you wake up one morning and it's like, oh yeah, that was never mentioned by the insiders.
The Mikko Rantanen trade, Snake, that blew me away. I'm like, whoa!
Came out of nowhere.
Oh my God. Yeah. Natchez? Okay, anyways. It turned out quite well, actually, for all three teams involved, funny enough.
Yeah.
But no, that's it. That's the fun part about summer blockbusters. It comes out of nowhere. Sometimes it's just like, cinema, baby. Cinema. It's fun stuff. Snake, before we move along, a quick word from our partners, Cheapest T-shirts.
Stop overpaying. Buying t-shirts, hoodies, or blank apparel? Same brands, same products. Lower prices. No minimums. Buy one or 1,000, same price. Fast Canada shipping. Multiple warehouses. Stop overpaying. Visit cheapesttshirts.ca.
We thank Cheapest T-shirts for their partnership with us at the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. They are the best. You know who's also the best? Betway. You can get a whole lot of money on Betway. And like I mentioned, if you bet the over last game, you made yourself a pretty penny there. And for new customers, you can get a deposit match bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. Well, Snake, it's very fitting that you're in draft mode, and so is the NHL, because the NHL Draft Combine is taking place in in Buffalo, in Betway. Starts with a B, you know what I mean? I'm sick. Give me a break. It's taking place in Buffalo this week. Right today was like picture day or whatever, portrait day, but physical testing's coming soon and player interviews. So I'd like to get a scout's opinion on the combine. How much value and how do scouts really approach the combine, in your opinion?
Well, my opinion of the combine is that all these physical tests are kind of a waste of time. Remember, Sam Bennett failed some physical tests a few years ago.
Was it the pull-ups or the bench press? One of the two.
Honestly, I don't really care about these things, or I wouldn't care if I were in the NHL. However, what's interesting is the interviews. We are going through that process today in the queue. I think we're interviewing like 7 or 8 players. Lots of interviews have been done already by local scouts. I think this is important because that's how you get to know a player. And you don't necessarily get to know a player by talking hockey per se. You just create a relaxed environment, and then you see who the player is, because otherwise they get coached by agents. Agents tell them they're going to ask you this, they're going to ask you that. It's always the same questions. And I feel that this is a little bit ridiculous, to ask a player, well, if you're an animal, what would you be?
Oh, my God.
Okay, that's silly.
Stop with that.
That's silly. So I think it's just a matter of having informal talks and see how much a player has been programmed and see how much a player is just being himself.
Yeah. That's it.
So that part, I would say, is important, that you get to know the players, albeit, only 5, 10, 15 minutes. You get a feel for who could be a good fit on your team and who could not be a good fit on your team.
Snake, looking at this draft class this year, and maybe you don't have any names, but I'll ask anyways.
Yeah.
Can you think of any players who maybe have the most at stake at the combine, and not necessarily for the physical tests, right? But more so for the interviews, like players who, really need to nail them or, can't afford to crap.
Well, in the past, there were controversial situations, I remember Trevor Conley a couple of years ago, who probably had a lot of explaining to do, This year, I don't know. I know there was an incident with Gavin McKenna, but I think everybody realizes that it's just, he's just another student, who was bugging him and he reacted and blah, blah, blah. So, no, I don't see anything where interviews could be that important in that sense. The Stenbergs and Reeds and Verhoff and company. I think it's a pretty standard, non-controversial draft class. I mean, at least seen from the outside. From the inside, you never know. I mean, we hear lots of stuff going around, but from the outside, doesn't seem like anything controversial.
Yeah. Well, listen, we'll circle back on the combine maybe next show, but for now, it's time to go digging in the mailbag. All right, we got 2 questions. We're going to rapid fire here. The first one is coming from Juan Pablo Mina. What was Snake's opinion on Matthews going to Switzerland? Has he changed his mind?
Yeah, I had a very strong opinion, I would say, when this happened 10 years ago. And Auston Matthews was a late birthday. He missed the 2015 draft by just a few days. Imagine he would have been in the same draft with Connor McDavid, so probably would not have been the number 1 overall pick. He went to Switzerland instead. I think he made $400,000, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously he made more money than he would have had he stayed in America and played either junior hockey or college hockey, because there were no official payments being made to hockey players at the time. And so I don't know if he went for the money. I don't know if he went for the experience of playing in a men's league before getting to the NHL. And to me at the time, I was thinking, well, the Swiss league, it's not really a tough league in terms of, he's playing against men, but it's not a super tough league physically. They don't play as many games as in junior hockey. And it's a bigger ice surface. The style of play is different. It's not as rough and tough. Mm-hmm. So at the time, I was like, why is he doing this? Why doesn't he go to Michigan or Boston University? Now, have I changed my mind? I would say yes, because what I realize now is that although we'll never know if he would have been better off staying here, it didn't hurt him. I mean, the guy had a 60-goal season. It didn't hurt him at all. It hurt his draft position. He had a good season in Switzerland, and he's been a great NHL player. So I think we shall. I think I probably at the time overestimated where a guy played for his development. And I know that sometimes we'll say, well, why is this guy just staying in this caliber of hockey? He could play, let's say, why is this guy in the USHL instead of the Ontario Hockey League, let's say. That, I still maintain that at the age of 16, 17, it's pretty important. But I think when it comes to skilled players like Matthews, I don't think it changes anything. We talked about Michael Hage going back to Michigan for a 3rd season. I wouldn't have done it, but I don't think it's going to hurt this career. It's not going to change anything when he's 25 years old and playing in the NHL.
There you go.
Yeah.
Second question. This one is coming from Jason A. When you guys are analyzing how useless the 28th pick is, remind us where Hudson was picked. Oh, Snake, I know you want to tackle this.
Well, I think we have to have some nuance here. If you look at the history of the 28th pick, and we're going to go through this in future podcasts.
Yes, we are.
Chances are you're not going to get a star. And I think you only have a 50% chance of getting an NHL player. It could be, and there's a possibility you're going to get more of a Ryan Poehling, let's say, than a David Pastrnak. And Ryan Poehling is fine; he's doing a good job in Anaheim, but he's no superstar. So when we say useless, what we mean is that the probabilities of getting an impact player are lower. And yeah, Hudson was picked number 62. But, you're going to get aberrations every year in the draft where some guy that, was not a high pick becomes a star. Jamie Benn became a star. He was not a high pick.
Joe Pavelski, 7th
round. This is going to happen, but you can't base a general analysis of a draft based on exceptions here and there. But exceptions are very convenient, when you want to argue with someone. And I don't think the number 20, the 28th pick is useless. I mean, it's a good asset to trade. And if you get a player, you can get a good complementary supporting guy with the 28th pick. But, Tampa Bay has been trading all these late picks in the last few years. And they're still good.
Yeah.
So should they have kept some of them? Should they have? I don't know. I don't know, because anytime you can take out the go on HockeyDB and look at the 31st pick and say, hey, if they had kept their pick, they could have had this guy. Look, the Habs last year they gambled by trading 2 picks. That Zarovsky was still going to be available, but then they did a little bit of a trade up. They moved up to get Zarovsky. So yeah, the 28th pick could have gotten them Zarovsky had he been eligible this year. So no, it's not useless. It's just more of an afterthought than if you get a top 5 or a top 10 pick.
There you
so
go.
I hope that answers the question. Sometimes we generalize, but the reason why we generalize, it's because when you analyze stuff like that, you have to go with probabilities. And probabilities are that the 28th pick is not going to be an impact player necessarily. That's all.
Simple math. Just go back and look at the record books. But if you don't feel like doing that, we'll do it for you. A little glimpse into what's to come on this channel, Snake. We're going to talk, obviously, trade candidates specifically for the Montreal Canadiens. I know that's what a lot of people want to hear about. Which centers could they go out to get? Wingers, defensemen. We're going to break it down. We're going to give you a lot of names, maybe even some trade proposals. We're going to also fully break down the draft, the players, the strategies, everything in between. We'll be doing that this month. And leading up to free agency, of course, we're going to preview that and break it down once it's happened. It's going to be jam-packed June on Trust the Process, Snake. I cannot wait. I'll let you enjoy the QMJHL draft for now. I know you got some meetings to get to, so thank you for Simon the Snake Bavaya. I'm producer Shayne. Thanks to producer Jimmy. Back at Master Control, this has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the Process. We'll see you Monday. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.